All right, Becca, are you ready?
Yeah, dog.
Okay, we are live. Hello, I am Amy, somatic and intuitive healer, and I am here for my friendly monthly call with friend and colleague Becca Hunnicutt of Bridging Realms. Um, and today I'm just getting some stuff off my screen
Mm.
so I can see all of the things I need to see. Please definitely feel free to leave us information in the chat or ask us questions. Um, we are just going to be bringing in and chatting about the eclipses and some shadow work pieces. Becca is a shadow worker, and it's something that as a shaman, I definitely do quite a lot of as well. And we just wrapped up the final Scorpio eclipse for about another 2 decades. And that happened on April 5th here in the United States. And it was a lunar eclipse. So it was a south node eclipse, really focused on Scorpio. What are we letting go of? Also, when we talk about Scorpio a lot, you will hear a very sometimes seemingly vague Scorpio's the things we don't want to talk about: sex, death, and taxes. Except when we get into an individual chart and when we get into working with an individual person, everybody doesn't want to talk about different things. I don't know if you found this, Becca.
I don't
Everybody
read
has,
charts, so I don't know, but
well, no, I mean, when you're doing shadow work, that there are some people are totally happy talking about death or sex or taxes. Um, so, from an astrological standpoint, when we say death, sex, and taxes, it's kind of a little joke because I work with lots of people who will talk about sex all day before they talk about their feelings.
so
And so
feelings. We're talking about feelings. Okay.
so much of shadow work is, what do we not want to talk about?
What do we not want to feel? Yeah.
Yeah, what do we not want to talk about? What do we not want to feel? Where do we not want to look?
Yep.
What do we not want to own?
Yep.
Um, and what I'm feeling into with the Scorpio eclipse is, where are we doubling down on our old patterns rather than letting them go?
Yep. 100%. Yeah. When I tune into that, it's for me, it's control and things outside of us. Like, we've gotten used to getting validation from outside of us in a way that reflects our own safety, our own comfort. I'm doing it right, all this kind of shit. And because there's so many polarized conversations, it's like, it isn't just like you're either this side or this side. Like, I think government, where it's like you're Democrat or you're a Republican. But then it's like all this, like all the change that's happening on the planet that's like money related, person related, how I want to express myself related. And everybody has a very different opinion on everything. So there's way more than two opposing sides. There's like 5 million different ways to look at this shit. And so it's really forcing us to, I think, get our validation from inside ourselves, like from my opinion, not my opinion should matter to you. And because my opinion is mine, you should change yours. That's not what I'm saying. But how I feel is right for me about this, because I don't need you to validate me. I don't need you to agree with me. As long as we can still stay friends and in conversation about it, you get to have your opinion and your feelings about something. I get to have mine. And if they oppose, it helps me know you more. And it helps me know myself more by knowing like what piece of that you're holding that isn't comfortable for me. So, I mean, even that can be used as this doorway into how to open myself up more. Again, I don't need to change my beliefs, but it's like, wow, how does she hold that? I'm really curious about what's true for you, where you and I differ? Like, tell me more about that. I want to get curious. And that allows me to expand rather than go, you're not the same, you need to die, or whatever it is that everybody's doing right now. It's just like, that's fear. So there's the place where we go where we can be expanded versus the old things that I'm trying to hold on that still shut me down. Because when the whole entire cosmos of old is shutting down, you have to get out. You can't, there's no staying here. It's not even going to, it won't even crush you, because it's just going to force you out into the new way of being. So it's like, why wouldn't I, knowing that, why wouldn't I just try to be as open as I can and allow more in order to expand into new ways of being. And I also end up having a lot more power on my side with knowing my own heart, knowing my own mind, knowing my own boundaries as far as like what I'm comfortable with and what I'm not. And again, I don't have to make you see that. It's just, am I willing to do this? Yeah, that feels good to me. Okay, I'm going to do that. No, that doesn't feel good to me. I don't want to do that. And that's it. And it has nothing to do with you at all. But it's also, I'm that whole like, I need you to agree with me. Tell me that I'm, tell me that I belong. Tell me that I'm pretty. Tell me that it's okay to have these thoughts. That shit's gone. And if you're looking for that, you're going to be like in a massive ego death, dark night of the soul, trying to find how to get it, where to get it. And it's like, it's not coming from outside of you anymore. You got to look inside and go, what do I really connect with? What is true for me? What is honest over getting it right?
Yeah, I can't agree more. I am seeing a lot right now of the scrambling for exterior, and maybe we should back up a little bit and chat about discernment a little bit, because you're coming at it from a place of a person who has been doing so much work for so many years. And when people are coming into this from a new place, finding our shadow, looking at our shadow, feeling the shadow stuff, can result in a lot of that doubling down. It can result in a lot of clinging to our own way of being. And so often that way of being is plugged into survival mechanisms that are associated with the ways we sabotage ourselves. They're associated with the ways we sell ourselves out. They're associated with our child self, who is like, how do I survive here?
Yeah.
And so leaning into, I'm doing a big, long personal journey of work right now, which is a year-long like dive into shadow. And I of course have a coach and somebody I'm working with, because one of the biggest, most important pieces I have personally found about doing shadow work is it's not something you can do alone. Even for as many years as I've been doing it, for as many years as I've been guiding it and holding it for others professionally, I still hire somebody to work with me, because it is really, shadow work is hard. Shadow work is so hard. And if we don't have somebody there kind of pushing our edges, keeping us on track, calling us out, paying attention and saying, hey, you're skating out right now. You're running away. Why are you getting so pissed off? Are you angry because we've landed on something? So let's back up just a little bit and touch into a lot of early shadow work.
Okay.
And how that can look for folks to understand this better, because of course there is the school of thought that says eclipses conceal and not reveal. And then there is this school of thought that say eclipses are this churning up and make it really, really easy to see where the challenges are and where the obstacles are and where the potential lies. And for me, the challenges and the obstacles and the potential are really all the same thing. And when we first start this journey of self-discovery, we oftentimes see them as separate things. Well, that's a challenge and that's an obstacle and that's an opportunity. We haven't come to realize yet that they're the same. So I would really be interested in kind of some advice and some examples and some seeing from your perspective on early shadow work and the importance of having a professional who does shadow work, who has done their own shadow work, walk with you, guide you, be willing to throw you a rope, pass you a ladder.
God, it's so funny. Yeah, that's interesting. And I so appreciate the fact that because I'm so forget. I have memory loss stuff around my trauma. So it's like, I forget where's the beginning. So I'm so grateful that you point that out. And bring me back to that in such a way that I'm like, oh yeah, it's really helpful. Yeah, so it's I mean, a lot of it has to do with too, like what you were talking about when you introduced us, is that piece of survival mode. So shadow work has a lot to do with where you are. It will hit you differently. You will be diving in differently based on, am I in survival or am I diving into this work? And you do need somebody's help, because there's the nuances where you might miss yourself, is what the shadow work is there to point out and stop and hold and go, oh wait, whoop, you went into here. So it's like, the shadow worker is constantly pointing out, not as a like, oh, hey, you did this wrong, but all of these are, like you said, points of opportunities. So when you hit one of those, it's our job to just go, hey, you had a reaction here. What's going on there? And for me, a lot of the shadow work that I've been doing shadow work fucking since I was like, I don't know, 3 years old, it feels like. What was weird about mine is that spirit was the one that was holding the other end of that stick for me and constantly calling me out. And it wasn't until 18 that I realized the difference, like you said, between opportunity and like pain points, obstacles, and all that kind of stuff, where it was just like, what? And I did this thing that I called circling the drain, which is a lot of what I see in clients, where it's just like, there's this avoidance, whatever they're avoiding, that's underneath the drain in the pipe. And there's this, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. So I call it like, you're circling the drain up here going, no, 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 waiting for your system to get on board, which never happens, by the way. You just either get so fucking pissed that you're still stuck in this whatever. And then you're like, you get more angry than scared and you go. But it's this anticipation, this fear anticipation around dropping in to the feeling you're avoiding, or the situation you don't want to look at, or whatever it is. And I did a lot of circling the drain until I think it was just like, I realized I'd spent so much energy of my life in like mini deaths, that it was like, if you just get in the fucking hole, it'll be over with faster. And I was like, oh. And now it's like, if I see my little places, I'm like, get me in the hole, get in the hole. Because the pain point is circling the drain going, I don't want to. Once you drop in, yeah, you might feel some emotion. Yeah, you're going to face stuff you don't want to look at. But when you're willing to drop in there and look at it, it goes so much quicker. And the pain point isn't really about dropping into the shadow. The pain point is avoiding dropping into the shadow. And shadow being like you said, everything I don't want to look at, I don't want to feel, I don't want to name about myself. And some of it can be high side shadow, where it's like, I don't want to own how good I am at this, that, or the other thing, because that's when the women are coming to attack me because things, you know what I mean? It can be both sides. So it isn't necessarily always, there might be always some shame in there, because it's like, if you're hiding it, you're ashamed that you're that good at it, as well as, or you're ashamed that the truth of I'm really bad is in here and it's real. But, so it's like, for beginning shadow work, it's just really getting curious about, where do I hide from myself? Where do I hide from, like, this version of myself? We all have versions of ourselves we want to step into. And clearly we can't just go, but it's like, what's in my way? What's, if I just stepped into that version of myself that's like, without outside eyes looking at me, it isn't I'm stepping into this version because they need to validate me, right? So we get back into that, but it's like a version of myself where I feel happy, I feel joyful, I feel connected. For me, my main word is connection. I'm always looking for connection to God, source, divinity, people, love, whatever it is. Where is that, and where am I hiding from it? I'm bad, I'm wrong, there's something wrong with me. My energy's too big. I should never just show who I am out there and be all balls to the walls about it. Those are the places that I hide. And then in there are deeper places that, little nuances that'll pop up about why, and the trauma that held, and all these little threads. But I would be asking, what am I avoiding, running from, trying to change or fix about myself? Because you don't need to fix any of them. You just need to accept it.
Love it. I want to go back to the early life shadow work. I love that you're like, I feel like I've been doing shadow work forever, and that, it was being held by spirit, and we all have that opportunity when we're young, that spirit is pushing us, spirit is giving us those opportunities, and bringing the really fine point on the fact that our pain points are the fact that we're avoiding, that we're circling the drain. I will, as a shaman, I'll talk about, that we walk a spiral, and that sometimes in walking the spiral, we hit a point in that we just walk a little circle along our path.
Mm-hmm.
So similar to your circling the drain, that walking that little circle on the path, somehow it feels easier than continuing on the path. Mm-hmm. Because if we continue on the path, we actually have to deal with it. Mm-hmm. We have to go into look at the things that we are avoiding. I also want to bring in that I know I have people that spend a lot of time making themselves smaller. Mm-hmm. Because their shadow is their word, they're going to take up too much space. I also have clients at the opposite end of the spectrum where they put on a show, and they have spent so much time putting on a show about how brash and how out in the world they are. When really, when you peel back those layers and find their truth, mm-hmm. their brashness is actually, and their ability to take up so much space is the survival mechanism, mm-hmm. which I think is one of the really important things to bring into this conversation is, as you said, there is no right way and there is no wrong way. There is only what is true to each of us as individuals. And to really get honest with ourselves of, am I a person who goes big and puts on a show out of survival? Mm-hmm. Or is that really who I am? Am I a person who sits quietly and always observes when there's a piece in me inside that is just dying to say all the other things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that,
yeah.
like, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that piece that you're talking about is, and now we get into what is the mask that I wear?
Mm-hmm.
What is the mask that I'm using to cover up or front? And those two things that you named too, the small person trying to be big and the big person trying to be small, can live both of those in one person at the same time. And I have those, so that's how I know that. But it's really interesting to watch that. And it's like, but there'll be different scenarios that maybe pull up different masks. So there's so many different masks, like tough girl mask, serenity mask, it's all fine. Like, and then there's the helper mask and the helper hero mask, and all these appropriate ways of being that we hide our truth behind. So it's like, and when I'm aware of the mask, like when I'm tuning into where am I masking right now? Where am I masking? What mask am I? Am I wearing a mask right now? It will draw clear attention to me. Oh, this is where I'm hiding. Because it's like, you can feel it. There's this thing that happens in your gut or in your self-judgment in your head when you're doing this that will alert you to the fact that you're sort of doing it. If you can tune in, there's something that goes off where it's like, oh, okay, I have to show up and take care of it this way. Like, and you're like, none of us question this. It just became automatic. But it's like, if you can learn to go, wait, what mask did I just put on? Now it's like, oh, what's my real truth right now? Even if you don't fucking do it because it doesn't feel safe for you, that's fine. But that way you don't lose yourself, where it's like, oh, I'm showing up to be the hero for this person right now because I need to feel needed. This is a safe place that I can show up and take accolades for helping. That feels more appropriate to me, and I get my needs met. And it's like, okay, it's just information. There's no judgment on it. There's no right or wrong on it. But at least I can know, where am I getting fed? What mask am I hiding behind to get fed? Am I actually getting fully fed? Because most of the time we're not. Most of the time we're doing it in acceptance of conditional love instead of showing up as ourselves to be unconditionally loved. There's that fear of, if I show up as my real me, nobody will love me for who I am, right? Mm-hmm. Which is the core of what I deal with in my practice. So, and most of the time it's because you've rejected yourself because you were trained to reject yourself. And then you went on automatic survival mode doing that. And it's like, it's been so many years, you've got to go back and connect all these other little pieces to even remember who that girl or boy was back in those days to find yourself. There's so much like undoing. Yeah.
And where you use masks and talk about masks, like what's coming in is my use of archetypes. Mm-hmm. I use a mask archetype when we work with archetypes to kind of bring that in. We've heard about masks. Working with archetypes, all archetypes have a shadow and a light. And we all have these 12 primary archetypes that we work from and kind of drive the bus in a given area of our life. And each of those archetypes has a shadow that they use for survival. It's our messy side. And our messy side it's a hard thing to look at. We don't want to look at our messy sides due to exactly what you said, Becca. We've been trained into conditional love. So we work painfully hard to be perfect. I know it is something I did for decades. I would never admit that I was wrong, because if I was wrong, it meant that I was less than perfect. And if I was less than perfect, then I am not lovable. Mm-hmm. I'm not safe. And it's not even that I'm not lovable. It's I'm not worthy of love. I'm not safe. Yep. And between not being safe and not being worthy of love, there it triggers all the I'm going to get kicked out of the tribe pieces. Yep. And if you get kicked out of the tribe, that is guaranteed death. Yeah. 100%. To our little our little limbic brains who are like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So that is all of this that we're bringing in, and the different doors that the two of us use is why shadow work is so invaluable.
Mm-hmm.
And knowing, especially starting out doing shadow work, you're going to double down.
Yeah.
You are going to double down. You're going to fight it. And it is always such a beautiful thing to me. I will have a client go through and tell me all of the ways. And then I will say, okay, so here are the journaling prompts to work with in this week between sessions. And they'll say, but I don't know the answers to any of this.
Mm.
But the journaling prompts that were just given have been based on the shadow pieces that have already been revealed.
Yeah.
Because it's another layer of ownership and responsibility. Because I don't believe we can shift until we take responsibility, because in taking responsibility, we're accepting our own power.
Yes. Well, and again,
Like,
if you're in or out of
I may have
survival
not,
mode, you're going to notice that.
Mhm. Yeah, I may have not done this.
Yeah.
I may have been victimized.
Yes.
And here is the point where I take responsibility for how I move forward.
Yes.
And it's a huge shift, because staying in that victim,
Mm-hmm.
it is 100% an option. And I don't honestly know, you know what, that's not true. I can name a human being at this point in my life that has not been victimized. I can. She is lovely, and I have such a tremendous respect for her. But that's one human being in my 46 plus years of humaning that I can name and say that person has not been victimized.
Yeah.
And she was raised in such a different culture
Mm-hmm.
than the one here in the United States.
Yeah. 100%.
So when we do shadow work, we're not only looking at survival, we're not only looking where we're messy, we're looking at our safety, we're looking at the places that we worry that we're not going to feel unloved. And we also have to remember that our shadow often is this thing that really wraps around our core wound, almost like it's going to protect our core wound.
Yep.
And that brings me, I know I did a video, I think it was the beginning of April, about that full moon that happened because it was conjunct Chiron. And Chiron represents the wounded healer. Which is our core wounds. And Chiron right now is in Aries. So it's so interesting to me from an archetypal standpoint. You know, there are all kinds of human beings on the planet that have a natal Chiron in Aries. And we do so much wounding work. And when we peel back all of the fancy words, the heart of the core wound that is Chiron in Aries is it okay that I'm me? Just like, you know, Chiron's going to be moving into Taurus, and that's do I have any value? Under all I have an abandonment wound, and I have a separation wound, and I have a this wound, and I have a that wound. This core wound in Aries is it okay that I'm me?
Yeah.
And feeling into what has been so alive everywhere is there are people who are so not okay with being them, that they are in a power struggle that demands that they try to control who everyone else is.
100%. Yeah.
So it is an issue of our individual wounding feeding the wounding of the collective.
Yes.
which
Okay.
I know I can say for me is a big part of why I do the work that I do, because it's not an elitism. It's not we're going to do this on our own individualism. And if I just do my own thing, it's going to heal. It's that we need to heal the inside to start to shift the outside. Because when we are so scared of what is going on outside, it is because we are so scared of our insides.
Yeah. Can I go back to something you brought up? Yeah. That thing when you had said being kicked out of the tribe equals death, because that's going to play into right where you just brought this is, to me, that's the key. So this is exactly like when we were doing the one side to the other side thing over here. That's what's happening right now, is we are being kicked out of the tribe because we are being forced into our individuality in a way where we know ourselves, not in a way that separates us from a collective, but in a way that is taking us out of that. If I fit into the collective, I'll be safe. It's putting into, no, if you fit into yourself, now you know your divinity. It's a very different story. And we haven't done that yet. So energetically, to me, what's happening is we are being kicked out of the tribe because the tribe was never real to begin with. And that is what this whole Aquarius rising thing coming in is wiping off the planet, is this false version of conditional love that the collective, quote unquote, provided. And it, as that's collapsing, if you don't have another way to go, if your faith is like shifting and changing and you don't know how to follow that, you're going, oh shit, this whole ideal is collapsing. There's nothing left for me to hold on to. I can't plug into the collective because the collective is collapsing as a way of safety for me. My tribe is dying no matter what. Now you're being also forced into a new way of being, which is change, which is hanged man, which is also death of sorts. So you're in a double bind. You're running from the death of collapse, and you're running into the death rebirth of the new, which just basically means the unknown. But most of us will consider the unknown death as well. So they think they've got nowhere to fucking run, but there really is only one place to run. You're learning in the energy of death. You don't have a choice, because if this is collapsing, you don't know what to do. All you can do is run. You're in survival mode. Eventually you're going to get there, because out of survival will come what is necessary for you to survive. If you can be open in a way, you'll get there faster. But I think we're all going to get there, where it's just eventually you're going to stop running and you're going to go, what do I have? What resources? What makes me me? Who am I? Where's my voice? What's my truth? Where can I stand? You're being asked to stand in you, in your power, in your divinity. And it is about that responsibility piece, where it's like, now that the collective can't hold me and I'm not responsible to them, I'm responsible. Where's my hara? I'm responsible to my alignment, my intuition, my intention. What is my intention? I have to get honest real fast. And the more honest I can be with myself is going to bring that foundation in a way that you can learn how to stand on it. But you're literally learning. I called it learning in the water when this happened to me, because it was just like, oh my God, there's nothing to stand on. And I'm like floating in the ocean, grabbing stuff as it goes by. And it's like, no, learn to stand in the water, learn to stand in the movement. If you ground into yourself, you're not relying on any fucking thing outside of yourself. Your happiness, your joy, your connection to divinity is what's going to be the thing that saves you every fucking time, because it isn't about the collective, no matter what's burning down, what's happening to money, what horrible things they're doing to children or whatever the fuck it is. Yes, that's all happening. Yes, it's all horrible. But as you know yourself as spirit, and as you know yourself as divinity, and as you know the truth of the heart of the unseen realms of who the fuck you are, that is going to keep you floating and solid no matter what is happening in this physical world around you, at least in my world.
Yeah. And that puts us into a position where we are better able to engage
Mhm. Yeah.
If via we, we came here to do a thing. We showed up in our magical, beautiful, amazing meat suits to do a thing.
Yeah.
And we can only do that thing from our own center.
Yes, very well said.
Every single being on this planet has a specific thread we are holding. We have a specific light frequency we are bringing.
Mm-hmm.
And really what we're watching right now is the power struggle of, I am so scared of myself.
Yeah.
That I need to try to manage all of the things outside of me.
Yep.
Because if I got right with me, I may find out that I am just a person with my own connection to divinity. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It is both that's it and that's it.
Yeah. 100%. Yes. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah. I love that.
It is both tremendously huge. Oh my God, I'm just a person who has their own personal connection with divinity. Mind blowing. And, oh, sorry. Yeah, you're just a person who has the same individual connection to divinity as that person that you claim to hate and want to control.
Yes.
So that really getting true to our center and our true north and who we want to be as individuals, that is actually healing the collective, and it shifts our divine responsibility to the collective. So we're moving from little human, I want to manage the collective, to our divine responsibility to the collective. And they're very different things.
Yeah. No, they are very different things. And you said something and my brain just totally lost it when you said it, but I was like, yes, this was it. It's the person, the controlling thing. Thank you. Because there's those of us too that are like, sometimes like I came from a place where it's like, I feel controlled by the collective. I don't agree with all this shit that I'm in around some of this stuff. And I've just been waiting for it to burn down. And what I'm learning is the more that I do exactly the thing where it's like, oh, I am this, I am the divinity and I am a human in the divinity thing. When I do that, it also it helps me be at cause instead of effect, because all of a sudden everything that's going on that used to control me doesn't anymore. I'm not as affected by it. It's still happening, but I'm not. It's like the game stops because I stopped giving the collective power over me. All of a sudden, my spirit, my beliefs, my values are no longer like, you can go down there and believe whatever you fucking want to believe, and that I should be doing this and I should be doing that. I don't care. I'm doing me. Yeah, I'm watching the world fall apart. Why do I need to watch it? Well, you need to be informed. Yeah, no, so that my blood pressure can be raised. It's going to fall down whether I'm looking at it or not. I'd rather take the energy that I used to focus on all the fears that I have and start to focus on what lights me up, because that's my resilience. And if I'm focused more on my resilience than my fear, I am building that channel of light that will sustain me, that runs me through. And if I include my own divinity and connection to source, whatever, in that, and that becomes more important than what's falling down around me, I know myself as I am human and more. So it's like, then all of this stuff that's falling apart now has a purpose, and I'm simply a witness for it. And I'm simply going, where do I want to play? It all becomes a game where it's like, ooh, I'm going to play in resilience. I'm going to play over here. Yeah. The collective's like, well, you should be worried for all those people over there and where the fuck ever, because there's so many different places. I'm like, but what is my time spent in worry going to do for the planet versus my time spent in my own resilience? because it's like, what's lighting me up? I am a light. We are the light of God, so to speak, source, whatever. If I'm feeding that light, I become that light, and I become directly connected to whatever I choose to believe in. And that unseen connection in love is just, it's very real. Just because it's not tangible, I can't pick it up and show it to you. It's way more real than anything that's happening right down around us. This is how we're creators. This is how we're manifestors. So if I'm feeding my light, feeding my resilience, I can create from that place rather than worry about the destruction that might be happening around me that I'm powerless to help. Right? So I'm doing this or I'm feeding this, which makes no fucking sense. I'm feeding my joy. I'm doing whatever. People are dying. Why are you dancing around in your house? All happy because I need to feel this to survive and to be in my light. When I'm doing that, all of a sudden, boom, this starts coming. Boom, this starts happening. Boom, this starts happening for me. And now I have more power, choice, money to help all the shit that I'm drawn to help that I used to be victim to. So it's literally like shifting my pendulum to the other side. And it feels very weird. It doesn't feel normal because we've been trained to believe what normal is, which is like control. You have to do what we say. Money is a thing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not saying physically it isn't a thing, but I'm saying there's different ways over here in unseen land to play with my own energy, my own internal stuff in order to activate this, to affect this in ways that I want to be in. It creates a circle of life from a very different space of energy affecting material reality than moving and resisting what's physically real and trying to get to divinity. This way doesn't work. It only takes you to hell. And I don't mean like, hey, I'm burning and there's a devil hell, but just I am unhappy. I am constant anxiety, hell. Mm-hmm. This brings flow, brings that synchronistic shit that happens that nobody can explain. All the stuff that lights me up. It's a very different practice. And a lot of us don't feel like, the story will be like, I don't have the right to be happy while all this is going down. Who are you not to be happy? If you're your own unique expression, exactly how you said, you're here to turn on a light switch that nobody else has access to, even though we all have access to spirit and we're all connected that same way and we're all the same. It's our frequency that makes us different. I have something different to bring than you do. Mm-hmm. That makes me special. And yours makes you special, different, unique, part of a fabric. And it just I get all excited about this shit.
I can tell. I want to let our viewers know that if you have any questions, absolutely drop them in the comments there. I am watching that. And yeah, I think that you talked about like staying in and building your own resilience. That is so vitally important because it's something that drives me crazy. Thoughts and prayers. Mm-hmm. Every time we have a shooting here in the United States, we go to thoughts and prayers. And our thoughts and prayers don't create any change mm-hmm. on a tangible level. It's just lip service. Mm-hmm. Whereas if we are building our resilience, if we're doing the things that we can do to fuel and hold ourselves, to fill our cups, it then allows us to take action. Yes. To make sure that we are participating in a way that goes towards working for the change that we're looking for the change that we're seeking. It is both and. It is the more we work with spirit. I'm sorry, you were sitting on my arm. I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. We have a feline friend with us this morning. The more we can shore ourselves up, Glennon Doyle said it beautifully. Feeling agony for that woman in Afghanistan doesn't help that woman in Afghanistan. Being well enough resourced within ourselves to understand, what can I do? How can I contribute? How can I be a link in this chain, a thread in this tapestry? How can I flip this switch to create change? And so often when we're just moving blindly with the, well, this is what I've been taught for how it's supposed to go, what we're not doing is looking at the ways that we keep our light in the shadow.
Yes. 100%. And I love that. And I know you say, like, how can we create change? And this is a weird one for me. So this is where it might get different for different people. So I wanted to hit on this just real quick too, because when I hear like, let's be changed, like a lot of the times where my brain goes is let's be activists. And I'm not that girl. So it's like, I had to make it mean something different for me, which is like, when I see things happening in the world, women in Afghanistan is like, how does this affect me? What is this triggering in me? This is where I go, because that's how I can change myself. Like, yes, thoughts and prayers. There's nothing I can do. I can send prayers. I actually believe in the energy can work in very crazy different ways, but I can't do anything. But it's like, what is that bringing up in me that is hidden, or that I'm not looking at, or that I don't want to feel about, or that I'm afraid of, or that I might feel similar to, you know what I mean? What is that? And then that's where I go, oh, what do I not have agency over? What part of me haven't necessarily taken responsibility, but it's like, where am I giving, to me, responsibility and giving my power away are the same thing. So it's like, where have I given my power away? Where am I not owning the part of me that like either wants to rail about this all over Instagram or whatever it is? What's hiding that's similar in this story that's happening right now? Then once I get agency over that, now it's like, oh yeah, now that's no longer a fear. Now I have more agency in my body. And that impacted me in a way that we're all connected. So it didn't necessarily look like I'm picking up a pitchfork, I'm donating money, or I'm doing whatever, but I'm doing it in me. And when my light goes this, now I've got more resilience. And it might show up as like, hey, I'm doing women's work or women's groups around this. And changing other people's lives, or, whatever it is. Yeah. Just so it can look differently.
Yeah, it absolutely looks differently. I am not an activist in the traditional sense. The way I am an activist is I work with activists. I work with people who are activists to support their resilience, to support them keeping their cups full. I will oftentimes say I am the person behind the scenes working with the people who are in positions of power. From a standpoint of lawmakers and activists and the people who are out contacting with their hands the world.
Yeah.
So we, once again, I'm going to ask one more time for questions because we're gonna wrap up here. Any other pieces, Becca?
No, that feels really Eclipse journey for me. I mean, it's like I am always a churny girl. So every time it comes up, it's Eclipse is usually churn stuff for me. And it's like, but I'm also like, this is one of the most relaxed my times through Eclipse. So it's like, it goes to show for me that it's like this work can actually really shift things, because I'm usually feeling like we're in the blender. Oh my God, I'm having a panic attack. Mercury's in retrograde, Pluto's in retrograde, everybody's in, like, what the fuck is going on? Then I have Eclipse and it's like, and I was just like, no, my intention is the blender works for me. So you eclipse it. I'm just going to stand here and let go and let it happen. Whatever wants to come in, come in. Whatever wants to go out, go out.
Yeah.
And it's a very different experience once I've learned to stand on myself instead of what's outside of me. I'm way less moved and jarred by these experiences, because it's like, oh, I'll just stand here in the middle, let the tornado do its work.
Yeah. I want to kind of bring us back, and I think close us on what you said earlier about the reality of our pain points being the places we avoid looking. Like that is really what those pain points are. So I think, unless you have anything else to add, I think let's go ahead and close with that reminder that if you are having pain, if you are running up against something over and over and over again, this pain point, that's where you're avoiding the looks, you're avoiding the feels, you're avoiding the things. And I think that was such a beautiful way to say it. So we will be back the second Tuesday of next month, which let's actually drop a date on that. The date on that will be June 12th. So we will see you all back here on June 12th. Keep in touch. Let us know if you have questions, comments, things you want us to touch on. And thanks so much for being with us.